Dr. Sfiso? Oh.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome back. I hope everybody has managed to find their way back into the main room. IT, could you assist us so that we don't have the feedback from the patients? Thank you so much. We did hear you, Dr. Mweng, that you are requesting just 5 minutes to just wrap up your feedback or presentation. I think we could be able to do that. Maybe let me check with the group that was facilitated by Professor Cheryl if they are ready for their feedback session. Then at least we can alternate to provide you with that additional 5 minutes you requested.
We're ready to go ahead. So perhaps while our group presents, the team can work in the background.
All right, we can do that. May I then give your team the first opportunity to give us the feedback from those from the breakaway session?
Okay, Fikile.
Thank you, Chair. And good afternoon to the colleagues once again. As a plenary session, I think we are plenary session 1. I will report on the outcome of the discussion that we have. So there was a lot of challenges which was raised, but I will focus more on the solutions that were provided as solutions. So we discussed the issue of unavailability of food, and one of the solution which was emphasized by the group was to say we need to make sure that we utilize the land reform fund to be more sustainable and more productive so that we will produce more food. And again, there was also a discussion around the issue of the availability of extension officers. And the emphasis was that we have to, as government, we need to make our extension officers available to assist our farmers on the ground. And we also discussed the issue of people having no tools to grow their own food. And on that one, we also come up with a solution where we said we need to strengthen the local food systems network at a local level. And we need also to make sure that the small-scale farmers produce, which they don't get rotten where they are. And we also emphasize to say there must be a connection of the small-scale farmers to the market. So for their produce to be, get marketed. There was a lot of also discussion around the issue of food diversity, and the solution around that we said an awareness need to be created on food preparation, because the group feel that there is a lot of nutrient loss during the food preparations. And again, under the same tone, there was a discussion which also indicated that some also of the food shortages also comes with the unavailability of the space where the food is produced, which also links to the utilization of the land reform farmers. And another solution to that one was to say, let us also look into other alternative innovative systems where people will be, trained on to produce their food in an alternative way as we are producing right now. We also indicated that also some of the loss of food happened during when there is food get rotten, either during the while they are still on the field, or also while they are also at a household level. So we need also to come up with a method that will improve the shelf life of the food that we have produced or the food that we have harvested. There was also an issue which was also discussed, which also talk about the decrease of the production of food due to the climate change, which also brought about the pest and diseases. And the emphasis and the solution to that one, we said, without a research that has to be, assist in coming up with the solution to that, we are not going to come up with the solution. So the solution said, let us provide a research information or research support so that we also come up with the solution on the climate change and the solution on the pest and disease control, which are exacerbated by the climate change. And we also observe that fruits and vegetables, they are not marketed as the other processed food is being marketed. And then we also said that the solution to that one, and awareness is also part of the solution, whereby people need to be given an awareness so that they will know that the processed food is not as much as healthier as the unprocessed food, as vegetables and fruits. So there was a lot of emphasis that the group put on the under indigenous food or indigenous crops, whereby we also said some of the issues that makes people not to become so interested to eat or prepare indigenous food and crops. It is because of the poverty that is associated with. And then the solution to that one, it said the group resolved to say we need to make sure that the awareness on the indigenous food crops and food and indigenous crops is made done for the people, so that they will be able to know how to process their indigenous crops and how to also conserve its nutrition, and also to erase that perception that the indigenous crop is you eat it because you are poor. And we also, the group also said youth also need to be involved, because now the youth is more on the Western food. So if when we do all this awareness, so the youth need also to be part, because at some point agriculture was utilized as a disciplinary action at a school level. So if we change that attitude, it will help in our food systems. And again, there was also an issue of, which pertain to the food, that fast food are being sold to kids, which also give about this issue of obesity and malnutrition. And then we said the government need to come up with a prepared program on healthy issues, where the expertise from food processes will be involved, such as chefs, so that we will overcome the problem of the indigenous of the food, the fast food being eaten higher by the youth or by the school kids. And we also observe that most of the food that is, we buy, they are not coming from the local. So we said 99% of the beans that we are eating in KwaZulu-Natal is coming from in countries like Zambia. And we said we need to promote the local utilization of the crops that we have produced. I think that also connect to the connection of the market, the local market and the small scale farmers, so that whatever it is produced, it is also absorbed within the province. So we also come up with the solution, whereby we said there is also a sort of a terminology which talks about indigenous crops, traditional crops, and also nutritional crops. So we said we need to come up with one terminology which will define what is indigenous and what is traditional, because on there is also a South Africa food-based dietary guidelines that also indicate what is nutritious and what is not nutritious. So our solution, we said, we need to come up with the terminology, so that when we incorporate this document that is available, we will also make sure that we see what is it relevant that we can take and utilize in the production of our food system and processing. There was also a debate around the seed, and from there we said there was a question which was also it improved the discussion to say, is the seed subsystem sector really produce nutrition and nutritious and environmentally friendly as we are getting the seed from them? So the solution is to say, the group said no, we need to make sure that we improve or we start our own local nurseries where also the indigenous crop will be propagated, so that it will be also promoted. Because one of the other challenges is that even if they want to produce their indigenous crop, but the nurseries or the seed is not available. So we said, let us promote the local nurseries, and also let us also make sure that whatever that the government or the intervention that the government have made around the seed issues and other intervention, we have to make sure that that information get communicated to the stakeholders. That will be also can be done through the extension officers or through other means of the department. And the group also observed that it looked like we are utilizing sort of different policies, as yet the policy under food and nutrition is one. So it means that all the participants, all the stakeholders that are implementing the food and nutrition policy need to converge, so that we communicate one information. We don't have another province maybe interpreting the policy on a different way as maybe other province interpreting that policy. So the solution to that, the emphasis is that strategically at a higher level, we need to make sure that the policy is one, and the policy is communicated correctly, and the policy is implemented correctly. So we also the group also emphasize as a solution to say the information flow has to happen with all groups, so with all within all participants who are benefiting from whatever intervention or whatever policies. So that is what is the group feel like at a present moment there is a gap that we need to come up with. And then again, we have seen that currently the information that is available, it requires sort of a digital utilization of information. So like you see where now we're putting the Wi-Fi's, we'll see that you need to digitize the information so that the farmers benefit, whoever who is also participating in the form or in this food system also benefit. However, the challenge that the group also raises that the issue of the data is a problem, whereby the local farmer would not maybe able to get that digitalized information if the cost of the data is so high as it is. So the solution to that one was to say, let the department or the government identify people who works closely with the farmers, so that there will be a sort of a leverage in terms of the data support from the farmers. So, Chairperson, I think that is in a nutshell. Those are just a highlight or a summary of the group one that we have had discussion that we have on our plenary meeting. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Doc. That was really insightful. It is very clear that that group came up with some very useful and progressive intervention that will assist. May I then go to Ms. Mpumi to give us the feedback on the second group? Ms. Mlongo,
please allow me to screen. Please allow me to share my screen, my presentation, I mean.
Yes, let's hope. Linda, can we please assist Ms. Mpumi to share his screen? Please try again, Spoon, and see if you can't.
Okay, I'm retrying. Oh yeah, I think I can now. Yeah, is it audible?
Maybe let's select the presentation. At the moment, we are seeing your folders.
I'm there. Can you see it now? Can you?
We seeing your folders, not the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Maybe what will assist if you just close all your open documents and then restart the whole sharing process from scratch.
Okay, I'm stopping sharing now. And okay. Close the documents, then I'm starting to share again. Can you see it now? No.
Looks like you are ready to wow us with the output from the second group. Please go ahead. We can see it.
The output. Oh, you can see it now.
Yes, we could see it. You just took it off.
Okay.
Yes, it's up now. You can go ahead.
It's more than big here on my side. I just wonder how I am going to correct it. It's so huge and not moving. Okay, I'll start afresh. I'm sorry for that. Share. What makes it so big? Linda?
Maybe don't do slideshow. Just open it without doing slideshow.
I've not yet done any slideshow. I just opened it. Can you see it now?
Yes,
no.
Now it's.
Oh, it's fine now. All right, let me see. Yeah, you are right. I don't have to do the slideshow. It is the slideshow that makes it so big to an extent that I cannot even open it. I don't want this one. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Share. Okay, I will leave it here because if I don't leave it here, it will waste my time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. who are our guests, as well as the government departments. We were in group 2, and in group 2, the topic was the same, which is ensuring access to safe and nutritious food, with all these delegates that were contributing in our meeting. In the first question, as to what are the underlying causes of South Africa perplexing context of food insecurity in terms of food systems, that is availability, accessibility, and access to nutritious healthy foods, as well as the stability. These were the contributions. The facilitator opened it by sharing the experience that the researchers, all of them are complaining of, that at a country level, we are all food secure. But when you go down to district and locals, you find out that actually we are highly food insecure. Then with the groups, the thing that was cited was that at a township level, there is an influx very high of people coming from all over the country and some from our neighboring countries to come seek for employment. As a result, the schools that are nearby are congested by small businesses that are informal, that are selling fast foods. And that fast food is really making a good impact in terms of a household profit. Yet, the students and job seekers now are dependent on the fast foods, which really is a contributor to the challenges that we are going to be talking about at the bottom. And there is this illegal connection of electricity that as well is posing some kind of an impact in terms of the jobs of other people who are dependent on working at the electrical fields. And as we all know, that there is high level of unemployment, and that high level of unemployment has led to the highly increasing numbers of people who are joining the group of the already suffering people in terms of food insecurity, poverty, as well as malnutrition. Vis-a-vis the increasing number of unemployment and people who are joining in, there is this increasing number of people who are living on fast food and those who are informal vendors at our local spaces. As a result, now the freshly produced food by people themselves is not gaining a momentum because there is easy food to get or to reach out to. And we as this group, this bigger provincial group of people who are knowledgeable about food security and insecurity and with the knowledge and know-how of assisting people, we are not doing enough in terms of giving out that information about food consumption vis-a-vis the nutritional value of what needs to be ingested by a person on a daily basis or whenever they require food. So there is a need for a robust nutritional capacity building and empowerment plan. There is also no holistic agricultural value chain. There is production. Everybody knows that people need to go to the soil for them to find food. But what happens post-harvesting? That is also a challenge. As much as there are people who want to get into agriculture, there is very poor infrastructure, especially at rural areas, where you find out that traveling becomes a challenge, especially for the farmer who needs to take their produce to where they can sell them at cities and their local towns. That is quite a challenge. And the challenge is not about the farmer who needs to take the produce to sell, as well as the people themselves traveling from home to where they can buy food needs every cent that is in the pocket. Say they travel at 100 rand to and from, or 200 rand to and from, and they're living on grant. What does that mean? It's a big challenge. So the affordability as a result of people who are relying on formal retailers so huge. And the money that they live on transport makes it difficult for them, even if you can teach them on food consumption and the nutritional value of food that needs to be injected. There is no money. They buy what can last them for a month until they get another a grant. And for farmers, there is a huge problem of water. Some are very keen to start agricultural projects, but there is absolutely no water. Some of them don't even have their household drinking water. Instead, they go to where cattle get water for them to harvest for their households. That on its own is posing threat to food safety. There is also silo mentality that result to the duplication of resources. Instead, this... I'm sorry, do I have to stop a bit? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, there are sounds. I don't know when you're talking to me. All right. I was on the silo mentality by government themselves and by government and their own stakeholders. That it leads to the country failing to extend their resources to the broader community. Because if we can put our resources on one pot, you can imagine how many people we can really reach to that are living in abject poverty. And there is this a crucial point that for me was a point that was not at all discussed at levels that it should be discussed. The coverage of weather patterns to farmers at all ground levels, for them to know that if I start planting at this kind of weather, I will be wasting my resources. Rather wait until such patterns that have been communicated pass. And the indigenous crops are crops that are not given a priority that they deserve. As a result, there is a dire need for an education program that will bring awareness, particularly to our youth, as well as when we talk to them, they need to know what is it that they can find from the indigenous crops, because the methods of preparing such food is still the same, because it's something that is pushed only by the aged. Now we need to come together and see how we can make them appeasing and appealing to the eye of the young person before they can even go and taste it. And we know that KZN, for an example, is like 3 provinces on its own. We have the coast, we have the brown areas that have got different weather patterns. If we can localize the productivity, know that we're having tomatoes at Umsinga, we're having butternut at Umkanyagude, then we push those people to produce at their maximum scale so that it's easy for us to assist them in terms of distribution, than making bits and bits and bits all over. As a result of not localized production, it's communication. If researchers themselves could communicate at their level, and whatever is communicated is cascaded down to their farmers, then at that level, we will know what is where, how much is where. Even the people themselves who are food insecure, the people who don't have easy access to food, will know where those people are because of the research findings that can be cascaded even to people at a level of government. There is also increasing numbers of child-headed households as a result of the high mortality rate from the incurred COVID-19 effects. We need to know where are they. We need to know how are they coping. We need to know who is assisting them with what. The land reform farmers are not productive. We have people who have been in the farms for more than 5 years, but instead there is no productivity. Farms are deteriorating, yet those farms were reaching out, were feeding not just the province of Kwazulu-Natal, but the whole country and other countries. Now, the farmers themselves would appreciate if they can be afforded a leeway to buy their own seeds, because they have knowledge of which commodities to choose, than to be just given the seed by whoever is supporting them. There is a lot of food waste post-harvesting because there is a very high market challenge versus the market demand. I think that one talks to the one on top, that they need to be given a leeway to have their voice heard. As a result of this food wastage, there is contamination at a very high level in their pig houses, which pose threat to food safety. The government as a market need to stick to what farmers were promised in terms of the turnaround as well as the intended need of ensuring that there is no food that goes to waste post-harvest, or some is left on the farms for it to rot. And on number 2, where the question was, the country has so many programs, and what is the influence of these programs on food systems in a positive way, if not why? Government food security related programs need to be intensified. there are programs. We really accepted that there are programs which need to go hand in hand with whatever challenges that come forth without the government having planned for them, like the natural disasters. The program relevancy need to be known and prioritized for them not to be chopped and changed before their impact is measured. As government, we change leadership now and again. And when they change, they come with their own programs. And as officials, we need to just follow suit. Maybe if there can be a way of sitting down and talking about what we have and what the impact is, then maybe the new leadership can maybe find a way of getting into terms with what is there and introduce what that leader needs to introduce, but not cutting out, no chopping out of what is there at a time. Agriculture has been GDP stabilized when all other programs collapsed during COVID-19. Yes. On that one, we're patting ourselves at the back as a Department of Agriculture. And while patting our backs, we need to really take cognizance that we need to have it driven with the highest spirit and confidence towards ensuring food availability and accessibility by people at almost all levels. Monitoring and evaluation was cited as very crucial in terms of ensuring stability and sustainability of programs. Because if you don't monitor, you don't even know whether whatever resource you gave out got an impact or not. Then the school's nutrition program was really cited as serving the food security of learners, and the Department of Education would like to see that kind of a supplier in terms of a farmer getting more intensified production support for them to be in a position to supply the market, which is the Department of Education, Correctional Services, which is government. Question number 3 was, why do we see the coexistence of child undernutrition, especially stunting, and given a percentage, which is 28% of children, and the obesity of us in the poorest communities and in both rural and urban communities? Is this related to food systems? The Department of Health agreed with a very big note that the children are suffering so much because their mothers have dropped or are looking at breastfeeding as something that is of the past. They don't have to breastfeed anymore. And even if they are trying so much to give them the benefit of breastfeeding, which is that of losing weight. While you're breastfeeding your child, you yourself as the lactating mother has got an advantage of losing weight. The mothers say they like their weight as big as they are. There's nothing wrong with that. So for now, they are still trying so hard with other means to ensure that this breastfeeding of kids is known and its effects in terms of dropping the child undernutrition and whatever that has to do with malnutrition of children is addressed. And there is a program that they are doing together with the Department of Education, that of ECD, dense nutritious food supply. And that one is trying to ensure that kids get dense nutrition at home, as much as they know that when they go back home, they are going to be fed by high energy dense food. Remember, we said the buying value is competing with the transport costs. Now, some households that are seen to be indigent do not have interest in own food production, regardless of the fact that whatever is required for them to produce food comes handy by government. So that one, it's the problem that agriculture is facing. And we're trying so much now that we're working with the Department of Housing to ensure that when they are doing the project, we intervene to educate the people who are beneficiaries of that housing program to say, have your own fresh produce, at least at your backyard. And the education needs to reach broader communities, including.
Excuse me, ma'am. Linda, the sign language people, their videos are not enabled. Could you please enable their videos for sign language?
Okay, I'm sorry for that. I don't know whether maybe this is what is on their way. Can they now? Hello?
No worries.
I given way.
No worries, Ms. Mulong. Just hold on there. Linda will enable them. I can see William is
Yes,
back.
it's enabled. Thank you.
Cabello is back.
Thank you.
It is. All right. Thank
You can
you
proceed.
very much. The silo mentality again was cited, that government as a major contributor is the one that is working in silos. That one is very much interesting. Before we can even exclude our stakeholders, we ourselves are excluding ourselves as government. So that one needs the same priority. We need to have an open talk about obesity and malnutrition at all gatherings, either government or stakeholder government, in church, politics, wherever people are gathered. There needs to be a highlight on the effects that come with obesity as well as the malnutrition. Now, question number 4. What can the country do to change the current context and make food systems of the future healthier and more sustainable? The researchers need to give back information of their findings to communities. It's easier for researchers to organize, to ask for people to organize their communities to come for research. But it ends there. Nothing goes back to them to say, these are the practices that you need to maybe cut or increase. So now the researchers themselves committed that the information needs to go back to those communities. And the KZN was cited as a province that already has the systems whereby these food systems, when they are included within the Operation Sukuma Sake structures, it will be easier for everything that was cited in this presentation to be a level where we say education, education, empowerment, empowerment, because OSS is a structure that goes as down as the ward level. The Office of the Premier, of the KZN Premier, is in a process of revitalizing the operation of OSS. As much as OSS is a very good platform. There are some local municipalities that don't have OSS at the ward level, which is an indication that there is a lot that needs to be done. As much as we are having a structure, we're not there yet to a level where we can say KZN is fully structured for its information to cascade to every single person in it. And we need to strengthen the networks by making farmers know why they plant whatever crop, not plant for the sake of planting. Now that we're saying we are starting from household level to encourage people to have food that is produced by themselves, they must know, if you're saying I need to put vegetables, do I have to put cabbages all around my door-sized garden? And why? And the soup kitchens need to be encouraged to buy from their neighboring food producers. We are complaining of market, yet we're having so much market that is either informal or formal. It's a pity because in terms of people buying locally, people prefer to go to town for even the fresh produce, yet their neighbors are having it just across their households. Education again is required. And I think water has been cited, and we need to have the data, and this data again comes that we need to know where the vulnerability is mostly manifesting itself. And the very last slide, who needs to do what to achieve the above 4 questions? Government needs to intensify their finance to support farmers at the subsistence level. You know, you can rely to the subsistence level farmers because there are people who are excited about the production because they are new in this kind of a field. And whenever food is produced and it take all the levels until they get the output in terms of money, then I think a lot can be achieved because it's the very subsistence farmers that fall within the ambit of most vulnerable communities in our province. While we are saying government need to intensify the farmer support in terms of finance, another way is to encourage them through incentivized production. I think we all know that there is this female farmer of the year. That female farmer of the year is a very good platform and a very good motivation to our producers. If that can be now made as can be tailor-made to fit the smaller farmers, just at the district level and at the provincial level, I think the numbers of people who will be introducing themselves to food production may rise. And again, the group looked at the investment of infrastructure as a very important aspect. As much as they like to go and try and practice food production, some of them are failed by the lack of infrastructure. There needs to be an advocacy that is robust by the civil society. The civil society is doing a lot of work in the entire community of KZN. That advocacy that they are doing need also, that is my point now, need also to be recognized by government so that it's easy for them to have enough in terms of resources to widen their horizon. The regular open dialogue like what we are doing, there is a lot of information that was gained, that was received by government today through this dialogue. If it cannot be a dialogue that is only organized by the national department, but we follow suit as the province, look at how many people we are going to be reaching and the joy that people will be having, that government talks to us. And there is this saying that is liked by the youth, that the development need to be, I'm sorry, buy me something, buy. Sorry, I can't remember. Then the private-public partnership need also to be strengthened. There should be the promotion of indigenous food systems by government in collaboration with the stakeholders. And the provinces and the province need to intensify the forums at district and local levels that are just targeting food security in the areas. And the informed responsibility by current data on provincial food security and insecurity is the one that is going to assist government and the stakeholders to ensure that whatever was a challenge that was cited here is addressed. Then the provincial policies and guidelines, because just rhetoric platforms won't help if there is nothing that is going to guide and push a government to ensure that the food security issues that are cited here are addressed. I want to end this presentation by quoting the former President Nelson Mandela when he said in 14 October 1998, I quote, "When we say that the best solutions to the shared challenges can only be found when we work with each other, it solely requires a commitment of each and every one of us," close quote. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sispomi. That was very helpful and very insightful. We could even hear from your voice, we could even hear from the way you expressed that feedback that that group did not choose a better discussant than yourself, and your passion behind those interventions that you have highlighted. We genuinely appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come toward the end of our dialogue, and we have had very clear solutions that the province will have to prioritize in upscaling food system in the province during the COVID pandemic and beyond, but leveraging both on the private and the public sector experience, resources, and all other means available to ensure that everybody in the province first has access to food, not only just food, but the food that is nutritious and that is also safe. More importantly, the food that is affordable, so that we do not leave anyone behind in driving these food systems. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the level where we want to ask if I could, the HOD at the beginning said that this is one of the very busy days in the province, but he also guaranteed us that his senior officials in the department will ensure that they are part of witnessing and participating into this very important dialogue that will form part of the national food system position for the country, which will be taken into the international communities. We were also very much fortunate to have even the senior government official at the national level led by Ndadera Masodi. We still have our national convener, Umam Uvangile, who is still amongst us. I would like to then, before I declare the dialogue officially closed, I would like to ask the DDG of the province, to just give us his sense and the reflections, particularly around the feedback that has been presented, which are the reflections of how the stakeholders in the province see the province moving the food system and implementing those solutions that will ensure the food system is put on the growth and the positive trajectory. May I then give you an opportunity to just give you your side of reflection on behalf of the province, and then we can move to the closure.
No, thank you very much, Program Facilitator, Dr. Ndombela. Let me take the opportunity to really thank all the stakeholders that have participated in this platform. Just judging by the richness of the discussions and the reports that we've received, it just shows that there have been robust engagements in the different groups to really inform our responses towards the plight of food insecurity in the province and obviously in the country. I would also like to acknowledge the fact that the National Department has chosen to probably do this in the fashion they have, soliciting inputs from various provinces, including ours. The participation from the different stakeholders, especially our sister departments, who are part of the platform, and the farmers and all the industry stakeholders, including the universities from the province. We really appreciate that we are part of this dialogue and witnessing the discussions and the proposals that have been put forward. And what is really coming out clearly as part of the discussions, I think from a government point of view, we will really need to relook at ourselves and see how best can we collaborate moving forward. Because one of the things that have been elevated here, it has exposed how as government departments, we still continue to work in silos in the delivery of services towards dealing with these challenges. So we would be interested in putting up mechanisms to try and close that gap. We are also excited that from the engagements, we are seeing that, yes, there is an acknowledgement of the response programs that government has put in place, that to an extent they are working, but we really need to intensify those response mechanisms, including the fact that we need to stop the chopping and changing of programs. And I think the participants are correct here, because we have seen with almost every year, we tend to introduce new programs and really shy away from the programs that would have introduced before even evaluating their impact. And I think these are some of the things that as government, we would need to try and focus on, including the fact that it's not only just a government a problem, and it's not only government that can really come up with solutions here. It's a societal matter. Everyone has a role to play. And I think this is what is coming out from these discussions, that as much as government could lead some of the response mechanisms, but it's doing so for the people, and it should be led by the people themselves, which is the civil society and all the other industrial role players in within the field. So we are, as the KZN department or as the KZN province, really much appreciative of this, and to Professor as well for the well eloquent background that she gave, and it was really an eye-opener on some of the other levels, that when we look at issues of food security, we really need to be much broader than just focusing our own agricultural aspects, but it's much more broader than that. We really do appreciate that. To the convener, Ume Vangile, thank you very much for having chosen KZN as well to be part of the participants in the platform. A program facilitator, we are indeed looking forward to the UN summit on food systems when that takes place, and we hope that our inputs as the province will find their way in informing some of the response mechanisms. On behalf of the provincial government, our HOD and our Honorable MEC in their absentia, we really are appreciative of the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DDG, and thank you very much to also all the facilitators. Thank you very much to the convener who have made this possible. And more importantly, thank you very much into the leadership of the agriculture in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, all from the farmers and to all the organization. I now declare the meeting officially closed.